Did you know that the word better is found 117 times in the pages of God's Word? Well, today I would like to share with you some of the things which God says is better. The writer of Hebrews said in Hebrews 6 and verse 9, even though we speak like this, dear friends, we are convinced of better things in your case, the things that have to do with salvation. You can always know the better things have to do with salvation, which sadly many people neglect. You may remember in Hebrews 2 and verse 3 we see a question, how shall we escape if we ignore so great a salvation? But not always does better appear in a positive sense. For example, the Israelites complained, if only we had meat. We were better off in Egypt, Numbers 11 and verse 18. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt, Numbers 14:3? Well, no, not really. They were just complaining about the situation that they were in. The Apostle Peter declared of backsliders it would have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than to have known it and then to turn their backs on the sacred command that was passed on to them, 2 Peter 2:21. Friends, we see salvation is serious business. The prophet Samuel rebuked King Saul with the words, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams, 1 Samuel 15 and verse 22. And friends, we need to heed that warning. We need to obey. It doesn't matter what we are doing in the name of God. If we are not obeying God, then we are not doing that which is right. We're not doing that which God prefers, that which God says is better. Solomon had some very wise advice in Ecclesiastes when he said, wisdom is better than folly, chapter 2 and verse 13. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor, chapter 4 and verse 9. It's better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools, chapter 7 and verse 5. Yet he also observed, do not say, why were the old days better than these? For it is not wise to ask such questions, chapter 7 and verse 10. Now, friends, I must confess that sometimes I find myself thinking about the past and reminiscing about what we often call the good old days, days when times were easier, and probably you can say the same thing. We look at the book of Proverbs and we find that it is filled as well with better passages. Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil, chapter 15, verse 16. Better to be lowly in spirit along with the oppressed than to share plunder with the proud, chapter 16, verse 19. Better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife, chapter 17 and verse 1. And here's one that always makes me laugh. Chapter 25 and verse 24 says it's better to live on the corner of a rooftop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. I think probably one of my favorite better passages comes from the book of Psalms, and it's this one. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked, Psalm 84 and verse 10. You know, sometimes when someone holds the door open, we think of things such as this, better to be a doorman than a doormat. Sometimes we smile thinking about that sentiment, but notice that the psalmist here says that it is better to be the doorman to heaven than to live among the wicked. You know, Jesus chose some strong words that indicate the word better. For example, and if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell, Matthew 5 and verse 30. In fact, this better warning is repeated 7 more times in the Gospels. Jesus declared, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them if a millstone were hung around their neck and they were thrown into the sea, Mark 9 and verse 42. Friends, we see that every person on this earth, from the highest down to the lowest, needs to understand this warning. needs to understand that which is better. Friends, heaven is a better place than what we have here. Salvation is better than being lost. So many things we could look at that God reveals to us are better. And I think it would do us well to pay heed to these things. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.